Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about Winter Storm Jasper, which will be another snowstorm and ice storm in parts of the South and the Mid-Atlantic. So at a glance, starting off with the Weather Channel page, we have Arctic air engulfing the central and eastern U.S. states to end the week. Snow and ice will impact parts of the south and far southern mid-Atlantic as a weather system taps into the cold air, and icing could contribute to power outages and tree damage near parts of the coastal Carolinas, and this system has been named Winter Storm Jasper by the Weather Channel. So, we'll talk about timing and warnings in a second, but I do want to look at the Weather Channel's forecast for snow and ice. We could see snow as far north as New Jersey, but most of the significant snowfall will be heading into areas such as North Carolina and Virginia, specifically southeast Virginia and eastern parts of North Carolina, and the significant icing will be occurring in parts of coastal North Carolina and South Carolina, including Morehead City, Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, and Charleston. Probability of ice, this is a tenth of an inch or greater, is very slight in southern Texas and parts of Georgia, but you get into that coastal area of North Carolina, South Carolina, that's when you get into medium and high risk of a tenth of an inch of ice or greater. And later in the video, I'll talk about how much ice we could potentially see in some of these areas. But here is the National Weather Service page, where we do have areas under winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings, winter storm watches, as well as ice storm warnings. So, starting off, let's go from west to east. Starting off in Texas, we do have some winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings. Southern Texas in those winter storm warnings due to ice. Then we have some winter weather advisories in parts of Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and southern Alabama with some potential icing there as well. Not very significant, but could see a glaze there, maybe even as far south as New Orleans. Then we also have some winter storm watches in South Carolina, as that icing could be major there. And then we also have some winter weather advisories in North Carolina and South Carolina. In fact, we do have ice storm warnings in effect on the coastal areas there. That includes Wilmington and maybe even Myrtle Beach as well. But in terms of North Carolina, we have winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories, and then winter weather advisories in parts of Virginia as well. So let's start off here with the southern U.S., and we do see here, this is the latest model run of the NAM 3-kilometer model, and we do see some snow as well as some icing potential in parts of central Texas, but most of the significant icing is possible in areas of southern Texas. Now, this has moved from more of a coastal southern Texas to more of an inland southern Texas event. But we also see some icing potential here in parts of southern Louisiana and Mississippi, but really not major amounts there. That's why we really don't see that in that potential for a tenth of an inch of ice, maybe a glaze of ice. Then moving into the Mid-Atlantic is where we're really going to see most of the snow and ice from this system. And going through, we do have that frontal system, which I talked about this morning, in fact, and I'll link that video in the cards above. But besides that, we do see that this wave of moisture does stick around in parts of North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, and we will see that this cold air to the north here will start to invade into the south and kind of cross with that moisture that has been in place, and that's when we start to see snowfall, sleet, freezing rain, and that continues to push even closer and closer to the coastline. Now that's wave one of this storm. Then we get into areas such as Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, seeing that significant icing starting. This is Friday, right around, let's call it 10 a.m. Eastern time. That's when we start to see some very significant icing along the coast, and that is where we're going to be seeing most of this storm kind of take shape. We also have some snowfall here starting to develop in parts of North Carolina and Virginia, as well as sleet in between those two, but very little rain with this system. We do see that freezing rain go almost all the way up to the coast, except for maybe the outer banks of North Carolina. But you also see that this storm is starting to strengthen. We see that ice beginning to get heavier, as well as that snow further north and that sleet. And eventually we see this storm get to very strong levels, even though there is no like actual low pressure with this. We do have one out here at 1016, but in terms of icing, even the equivalent of light rain to moderate rain, like we're seeing here, could be significant over a long period of time. So we are seeing this storm start to push into more of that colder air, as well as tapping into more of that moisture, where we do see snow, sleet, freezing rain still accumulating all the way down into Georgia, and that snow starting to pick up in parts of northeast North Carolina and southeast Virginia. And that strengthening continues, and we do see the heaviest of this snowfall starting around midnight Saturday. So this is, well, midnight Friday morning, midnight Friday into the Saturday morning is when we're going to see the most significant snowfall from this storm before it starts to move out on Saturday. So in terms of icing, we will see some minor icing in parts of Texas, maybe even up to 1/4 of an inch in some spots where you do see that consistent chance of freezing rain, where that could be significant, especially since we've already seen from this past year what the Texas power grid can handle in terms of cold weather. And the fact that this is even further south than some of those problems occurred last year is concerning. We also have some light freezing rain in parts of Louisiana, maybe along the coastline you could see 1/10 of an inch, but most of the areas are going to see less than that. Then our main player here will be in parts of North Carolina and South Carolina, where you could see up to 3/4 of an inch of ice. That will be accumulating on trees, power lines, electricity poles, and the roads. So if you're considering traveling at all between Thursday night and Saturday morning, please be aware that there will be very reduced traction on those roads if they have not been treated. 1/4 of an inch of ice will create such a thick glaze on that road surface where you will get almost no traction at all. So we do see that impact there, but we also have areas such as eastern Georgia and western South Carolina getting at least 1/10 of an inch, according to this latest model run, as well as maybe some ice in areas such as the upper elevations of Georgia, North Carolina, Alabama as well. So the icing will be the most significant part of this storm, but we do see some snowfall as well. And most of that being concentrated in the mid-Atlantic, where we could see up to 6 or 7 inches of snowfall right around Newport, Virginia, and then you even move into areas near Richmond, you could see 3 inches there as well. But in terms of major snowfall, it will be considered kind of moderate snowfall for most of these areas. The Mid-Atlantic is not, this isn't no new thing for the Mid-Atlantic. They do see snow every so often. So 3 to 6 inches widespread in areas of southeast Virginia, parts of Delaware, as well as north and east North Carolina, with the most significant snowfall right around Newport, Virginia. But that is all I have for this storm. If you have any questions about icing, I will link my deep dive ice storms video up above. But if you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell. That's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.